Good afternoon, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Rodrigo Broilo. I work at Facebook at the manager, webcast, the pops of Facebook, where they're going to be, when not, and why, internally and obviously externally. And I'm here to talk about network disaster recovery. Many people have plans in their mind. Few have a plan on paper, and very few have tested them. Unfortunately, I don't have a disaster recovery for the presentation because it's quite dark. I'll try to do my best because what matters is not what is on the screen, but what we are here to talk about. So we have various types of products and apps that Facebook has. Some of them are on the screen: Messenger, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. We have some other initiatives, but they're not here as the VR goggles, which is quite cool. Yeah, I've tested it today. It's really awesome. And I'm going to talk a bit about scale, size of the problem. That has been our challenge. The tests that we ran. And what I'm going to talk about here that I think it's important to share to perhaps light a little lamp for everyone. And even if we plan, things fail and will fail. Well, when it comes to internet, it's certain that things will fail. When we talk about scale, in all families of apps on Facebook today, we have about 2.62 billion users, monthly users. In all families, not a single app. And for all those people, we must have an infrastructure supporting more than 300 million photo uploads daily. It's a great challenge. Over 1 million comments, status updates, likes and posts per minute. And they are single challenges, and they're quite important and require quite innovative solutions that you cannot find off the shelf. So what happens when things fail? This is the last thing anyone would like to see. Doesn't matter, but not this. It's bad, pretty bad. Especially, I believe the majority here represents ISPs offering services to end users or to a service provider that will in turn provide the service. So nobody wants to see this on the screen of their user, and obviously Facebook doesn't either. Here is the demo in the failing of an ad pop. So we have a POP, peering point that we have at a given place or country. And this is a demo of what happens when this POP fails. For any reason whatsoever, because it is there, it's not fail-proof. We see a leap on the green line of latency from one average of 1.2 seconds to 2 seconds. This actually impacts end user, and this demonstrates to us that what we have there is a misalignment in the planned capacity, because that POP of that specific content has failed. And when this happens, we are able to realize on the line, well, we have two lines egress of traffic over cache net, and the other one would be from POP. And we see that on that drop, when there is a failure, or we see the other chart of latency, that is an indicator. Well, we have various indicators. Latency is an indicator that is not capturing that usual path, and that is the traffic when it drops, literally, for various reasons, lack of bandwidth, capacity, management of TCP/IP, because it's too far, and it takes a considerable time to recover. After that little valley, I'll call it, it takes time to recover, and it goes back to what it was before. So failures, and our goal is that they should happen, and when they happen, the impact to people should be minimum and not a large or great impact. In 2012, Facebook, we received an alert when the Hurricane Sandy was approaching the coast of the U.S. It was about 150 kilometers of a region of a data center called Ashburn, quite well known. It has it's a quite dense region in terms of data centers, so it's an important hub. It's in the northeast of the United States. And Facebook has redundancy. We have regions where we have a data center. We have a region of a data center. It may be multiple buildings. It's a region that we call. At the time, we had 12 regions. Each region is huge. There are over 100,000 servers per region, running hundreds, thousands of systems of software pieces. And we asked ourselves, what would happen if Ashburn were actually impacted? It was not. What would have happened if it had been hit by Sandy? The question at the time was not something that was understandable by the Facebook team. Nobody said, no, well, it will work. We have 12 regions. So we could not find an answer. And this created some kind of great suspicion and great setback. And we cannot operate like that. If it fails, it needs, well, it will stop working. And we saw how most companies deal with machine shutdowns. This is a sampling of what happened at the time. I think one of the photos, I think on the right-hand side, south of Manhattan, collocation spaces and data centers where there was a flood that were totally flooded, and that's northeast in the United States, but it affected Latin America. We have submarine cables, and the SLT is actually reaching those points and actually impacted them, and there was no capacity anymore. So it's an ensemble. We should not think that, well, nothing happens here. I'm Brazilian. You can tell by my accent, but nothing happened here. But the thing happening on the other side of the world, in the north, in the east, things can impact. Things are all interconnected. These are two examples of regions. We have Forest City and Ashburn. It was on the path of Hurricane Sandy. Luckily, it did not hit us. It was about 50 kilometers away. We did not have the possible impact, which was actually simply destroying the data center, the trees, the poles, everything that connect the data center. If everything goes, you have an island that is useless, or the worst that could happen is reaching the data center, or suddenly everything disappears. we could not live with this lack of response. So what could we do? So we could detect and mitigate things. And here, at the time we not on Facebook, I joined Facebook in 2016, and they were thinking about how Facebook would function if a whole data center was lost. What would happen? Nobody actually knew how to answer this question. So there was an expectation that was created called Storm as a reason to be called Storm, well, hurricane, etc. And this project, well, several tools were created for this initiative, actually, and to be performed on a large scale. It involved all the engineering department. It was the engineering head who started this project. His name is Jay. He's the engineering VP. That was to make a plan for disaster. Till then, we were on planning for disaster. And one thing is preparing, and the other one is disconnect. And, well, we have to check whether it works. Well, literally blank. There are some hacks with little dim lights that you can't see. This is what would happen to you if you lost a whole data center. Facebook may run. Facebook would function in one of these regions. That's a question that was asked and that should be answered. So we have hundreds of servers, thousands of systems, and the power consumption in a region corresponds to a city of reasonable size. There are various, many megawatts. So, and then we thought, well, can we move our users quickly outside the region? And further on, I'll show you what the topology of Facebook is. The user goes to the data center or not, directly does. Do we have enough capacity of servers in other regions to move those users for other regions, or are we making a non-optimal planning, or perhaps terrible? Do we have capacity on the network backbone to reroute the traffic into dozens of other routes to those other data centers of different points that pull this traffic? There were three questions that seemed to be simple. Well, let's do it here, Matt. Well, there's so many servers more. Apparently, we have capacity on the backbone. Everything will work. Well, most companies, in our understanding, make a very detailed analysis, and at the end, they declare, okay, stamped. Well, everything is cool. If it happens, no problems. So we decided to do things slightly different because of this. Just a brief question. How many of you in the room have had an experience with hurricanes in your infrastructure? I know I'm asking this question in Brazil. We had a tropical cyclone a few years ago in the southern region of Brazil, but apart from that, I can't remember any event as bad as that in Brazil. Well, floods. Well, it's a natural disaster. If you've had a flood in your infrastructure, you might have lost another site that is replicating a CGI.br, a tower of PLP, gust of wind. So you should be prepared for what happens. So it's a tower of that is 50 meters tall. Well, are you going to be a month out? You're going to lose your client. Since we don't have many people that have experienced this, how many of you have suffered from software bug, from the router, Linux, Apache, well, everybody somehow suffered. Either you've written your software, because every software will have a bug, full stop, or you have your vendor that provides the equipment, the software that evolves and should be corrected every now and then. People prefer not to get a bug or need to correct, of course, but unfortunately it does exist. But assume bugs can be implemented in every data center in our case. And they may cause a list of failures. Imagine it's like a domino. So you have a rollout of fails, and it will actually have a domino effect, impacting everything. What are we saying? We should be prepared for natural disasters, and then there's a human factor. We make mistakes, and there's no problem regarding that. The question is, you're admitting you made a mistake and see how you're going to prevent an error from happening again next time. It should be a different mistake, not the same. So our first project lasted 2 years. It's called Sandstorm from 2012 to 2014. The Spark driver was actually Hurricane Sandy. After 2 years of work, we ran the first large-scale test of disaster recovery called Sandstorm in the region of Ashburn. In the morning of the test, Jay, our engineer VP, was talking to the CFO at the time in 2014, and he was very happy and said engineering made a plan for the company, this and that, cool. And he asked a question, made a statement and said, you're not thinking about doing this, are you? Really? This is what the CFO said. And Jay quickly answered, we made a whole study and previous work. There's only one way we can be sure, and that's to run the test, and we will. We learned a lot with Sandstorm. One funny thing, our main monitoring system was in Ashburn, only Ashburn. It was before the test. It's a simple thing that could have made Facebook to actually have some blind steering. Well, the boat is just moving on and you have no vision whatsoever. So actually everything was off air, out, and there was no impact. And there were no media needs, nobody heard of it, and it was internal, nothing happened, it was successful. In October 2016, so those are the acronyms of the data center. We have Forest City, FRC. Well, the prior notice was reduced. We had 2 years, and that was reduced to 2 days. We have this dice. We made this little dice, and basically Jay would throw it on the table with the representatives from various areas. Well, in 2 days, you just switch it off. And that's what happened. Well, we have a lot of sense of humor in Facebook. Sandstorm, ice storm, thunderstorm, firestorm, sandstorm 2, thunderstorm 2, and firestorm 2. So we ran numerous tests repeatedly, because every test allowed us to eliminate bugs, software bugs. We improved them and helped us know what to do with disaster. And actually, you can only improve your disaster recovery plan after running several tests. You have to continuously seek improvement. In a long time, we involved more software companies. We covered Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, corporate IT. the ticketing system that we have to ensure that, the data center is out, but people in the company can also continue working. And so I'm here to talk about what's next. That's the most important part of my talk.
What can we do after data center? There is a great challenge with data center. Facebook controls from start to end. Data center belongs to Facebook, backbone the same. When you control start to end, it becomes easier to do it. Not necessarily easy, but that is a more controlled type of environment. What's next then? Well, do not throw yourself. Edge is my team, which means edge, and that represents the edge of the network where you guys connect to Facebook. Failures will happen. That is part of internet. Failures will happen. And how can we minimize impact to people? What can we do to mitigate impact to our users? You connect a user to at the end of the pipe, and that user wants to access that specific app. So both sides have to work jointly. That's why we say collaborative internet. We like to automate everything is possible at Facebook. We are not saying that we are going to get rid of human beings, but those type of repeated tasks, there is something wrong with that type of task which can be automated. So think twice when you start doing the same thing every single day or every week. This is a type of task which can be automated and you can save time. Well, I'm running out of time. I don't know if I'll be able to conclude this presentation, but anyhow, Facebook has global and local controller. Global controller is the one which decides where the user is going to for content, POP A, B, or C, the three router for Facebook.com. And the local controller is within that POP, which interface am I going to use to deliver that traffic. There is the BGP factor, a local controller, or the so-called SDN. Everything is done within the Facebook network. Local and global controller at Facebook, you'll be able to find some further information if you'd like to go into details. The whole idea is to mitigate, to solve our software problems and to be highly automated. Steering under failure. How can we move the traffic under failure? We had some improvement in our controller, which is no longer manual. It used to be manual many years ago, and now it reacts under hours, now minutes. So under any failure, users will be mapped somewhere else in order to minimize impact to people. The idea is to solve any resilience problems and to keep a very good maintenance window. What are we doing today? We are working with many ISPs. We are draining, peering, off-peak. with a low traffic volume. In Brazil, at around 3 to 5 a.m. local time, coordinated time, we are also analyzing real data to see where can Facebook improve if there is any code problem. Well, I have an extra 5 minutes. And we are developing tools and automation to minimize impact to all. We do not want our engineers to interfere manually at 5 a.m. local time when it's a different time in California or in Hong Kong. We do not want to wake up anyone in the middle of the night to do this or that. The human beings' reaction will take a while, so we better have this kind of function automated. What is a drainage peering test? It's a way to test resilience. Peering point in São Paulo, that is a metric. There is another one in Rio de Janeiro. One does not interconnect to the other one. They are single autonomous units. If there is a failure over here, the other one over there can deliver 100% and vice versa, and anywhere else in the world, any other point. Working with you to drain peering slowly, testing functionalities, not peak volume, monitor outcomes, learn from any possible mistake, and to notify peer if we are lacking of prefixes. We are not sending everything. The other one is delivering a more specific prefix to someone who you do not want to get that traffic. This is a type of information that is not observed by many people. Outcomes so far, we have more tooling, automation, improvements, understanding what is the full problem when we lose a card or the peering loses its DW or anything else. We also manage to fix multiple interconnection problems if there was any prefix problem or ISPath, or sometimes there are those who send a private SN, you name it. Next steps. To drain your network, continue automation improvement, pop and caches, and drain at the peak. The POP will fail at the peak. So we need you. You who are here and those who are following us online. There are 4 methods of egress. An ideal design can lose any one of those elements without impacting anyone. Caching, everyone wants to have one. For qualifying networks, there is that tiny number, and qualification depends on region and some other factors, not only traffic. Do not ask us about what your minimum is, because that will not take you anywhere. There is no answer about your minimum. It depends on where you are placed, and so on. Caching supports static content, absorb pics, it supports live streaming. It is in a kind of static dynamic scenario, but it can support video on cache. And resilience on cash. Local peering, peering on a certain metro. We had participated at several internet exchange all over the globe. Many IX peering options globally, and keep your peering updated. Keep Nokia's contact. Keep your capacity. Do not say that you have 20 tera. You do not have it. There are those who say they have 20 tera, but we know that does not make any sense. If you are not present at Peering DB, you do not exist to us. When we assess a future site, you have to be at the DB. PNI has nothing to do with internet exchange. That is a jump within the data center. We are between both ISP and Facebook, 10 and 100 giga. Regional peering. São Paulo and Rio is an example of regional peering, or São Paulo, Miami. Traffic or transit. Transit is the last resort unless we don't peer. And used when PNI or IX become full, or you have to get rid of that package. In summary, we want to build the best resilient connectivity ever and help reduce costs. We want to test and find and fix issues, talk to our team. Thank you so much, and sorry for exceeding my time. Thank you, Rodrigo. I'm open to your questions. Well, unfortunately, there is no time for them, but Rodrigo will be available during the rest of the day. A big round of applause to Rodrigo.